So what is going on, guys? I am Amazing. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to 5 things you didn't know about zombies part 2. Because you guys enjoyed the first episode so much, which was all to do with Mob of the Dead, theories that surround Alcatraz, our zombie storyline is full of conspiracies, so today we are looking at Didnt, or the Giant. Especially since this was one of the earlier maps to release back in World at War. Zombies back then was based off more real life and history compared to now, where Treyarch tend to make up their own things or bring in a lot of mythology. Originally, the zombie story was based a lot off Nazi conspiracies. There is so much interesting stuff out there that's worth making videos on, so today we are focusing on Didnt. If you haven't already checked out the Mob of the Dead video, then definitely go and do that. I will link it down in the description for you guys. But without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go, and enjoy. Didnt, German for the Giant. This map takes place in Lower Silesia, near Breslau, Germany, and was based off a real-life construction project undertaken by the Nazis from 1943 to 1945, called Project Reese. The project consisted of 7 underground structures located in the Owl Mountains and Kasey's Castle in Lower Silesia. I've probably pronounced that totally incorrectly. As of now, this is in Poland territory, but during that time, it was a part of Nazi Germany. So you can see the 2 locations of both Project Reese and our map Didnt. Although we don't know the specific location of Didnt, it is in Lower Silesia. Anyway, none of the underground structures were ever finished. All are in different states of completion, with only a small percentage of the tunnels being reinforced by concrete. The true purpose of Project Reese remains uncertain because of lack of documents. Some suggest that all of these structures were part of the Führer's headquarters. According to others, it was a combination of headquarters and arms industry. But comparisons to similar facilities indicate that only the castle was adapted as an HQ, whilst the tunnels were planned as a network of underground factories. And that's exactly what Didnt is. It's a weapons factory. There are plenty of articles that you can find online about Project Reese. Reading just one of them, it says, as Allied bombing of the Reich resulted in increased destruction of critical factory areas and disruption in manufacture of Hitler's wonder weapons, the Nazis began to move these and other critical sites underground. One such tunnel project was begun in 1943 in the Owl Mountains, an area in Lower Silesia. The area was a part of Germany pre-1945, but is now in Poland. Some 7 separate tunnel systems have been identified, all falling under the overall project name Reese, Giant. The exact purpose of these tunnel systems remains unclear today and is the subject of considerable debate. Some or most of these systems may have been planned to be connected into a huge complex, possibly serving several different functions. Most records of this project seem to have been destroyed or hidden at the end of the war, but Nazi Environments Minister Albert Speer, along with Hitler's Luftwaffe, report in their memoirs that the tunnels were meant as a Führer headquarters. However, some researchers have felt that this was a ruse to disguise the real purpose, and they have stated the tunnels were meant for any or all of the following purposes: military command headquarters, underground defense industry, manufacturing site of top secret wonder weapons, atomic bomb research and testing, the Nazi Bell, research into anti-gravity devices and or time machines. It has even been rumoured that still undiscovered tunnels of the Reese complex were used to hide the famous Bernstein Zimmer, the Amber Room of St. Petersburg, and other Nazi treasures. Most historians believe today that, although there may still be hidden tunnels to be discovered in the area, the project was designed to be a Führer or military headquarters and site for an underground amendments production. Most of the excavation was done by forced labourers from Poland, Russia or Czechoslovakia, Russian and Italian prisoners of war, and concentration camp prisoners from the nearby Gross-Rosen camp. An estimated 5,000 out of some 1,300 slave labourers died on the project. So it's clear to see that Didnt is heavily based off Project Reese. Exactly which one of these 7 underground tunnels, we don't know. Of course, Didnt takes place above ground, whereas a lot of Project Reese was below ground. That's the only major difference. There are some underground sections on Didnt, however. There are openings where these zombies come from that lead to underground tunnels. And what's interesting is in one of these tunnels, you can find a train. You can see a carriage, some tracks, and then also down there are bars of gold. This wasn't just a random, meaningless thing added into the map, because yet another conspiracy to do with Project Reese is the Nazi gold train. To this day, the train has never been found, so it's still considered local legend, but supposedly the train is buried in a tunnel in Lower Silesia, between Breslau and Waldenburg. It was left here in May of 1941, during the last days of World War II, around about the same location as Didnt. According to local legend, the armoured train left Breslau laden with gold and other treasures. It was driven into a system of unfinished tunnels under the Owl Mountains as part of Project Reese, where it was supposedly buried in a warren of tunnels and mines created by the Nazis. The train is rumoured to hold up to 300 tons of gold, jewels, weapons and masterpieces. According to historians though, it's never actually been proven that the train exists. And we can see this armoured train laden with gold in Didnt. If it's here, then clearly Project Reese, the underground tunnels, are right beneath the facility. Outside of the map, you can see a strange structure. As I'm sure you know, it's a part of the Easter egg called the flytrap, but there's also a darker meaning behind it. The flytrap is actually a real Nazi construction. It is believed to have been the testing ground for Die Glock. In the map you can find two torn up pieces of paper. The first one reads, "The bees disappeared from Ludwigsdorf," and the second one says, "Die Glock ist jetzt mobile," which translates to, "The bell is now mobile." The flytrap structure was believed to have been the testing ground for Die Glock. What was Die Glock? It was a top secret Nazi scientific technological device, a secret weapon, one of their wonder weapons. Die Glock, which translates to the bell, was associated with Nazi occultism, anti-gravity, and free energy. It's described as a device being made out of a hard, heavy metal, approximately 9 feet wide and 12 to 15 feet high, having a shape similar to that of a large bell, hence its name. The device contained two counter-rotating cylinders, which would be filled with a mercury-like substance, violet in colour. The metallic liquid was codenamed Urim 525, and was otherwise cautiously stored in a tall, thin thermos flask at a metre high encased in lead. Die Glock had a few purposes. One of those was anti-gravity. Not only that though, but it said that the Nazi bell allowed the Third Reich to visit the moon, Mars and even distant star systems. This was possible using its gravity-defying propulsion system. Die Glock allowed the Nazis to teleport. Hitler is said to have ordered the development of the technology as part of a secret Nazi space program. As World War II came to a close, Hitler put all of his resources into his Wunderwaffe. Die Glock was one of his wonder weapons. Looking at the device, it's very clear if we compare it to the teleporters we see in Didnt. This is where the inspiration comes from. Die Glock and our Group 935 teleporters are very similar in shape. Even though the ones in Didnt don't give us an anti-gravity state as such, they do teleport us. We have been teleported to the moon using one of them. That's exactly what the Nazis supposedly did, or at least were attempting to do. And so going back to the flytrap, one of the theories for its purpose is it was used as a base for Die Glock to help generate an anti-gravity state. And that wasn't the only Wunderwaffe that the Germans had. It was a term that was brought up a lot during World War II by the Nazi Germany propaganda ministry to some revolutionary super wonder weapons. Most of these weapons, however, remain prototypes, which either never reached combat, or if they did, were too late or too insignificant in numbers to have a military effect. As the war situation worsened for Germany from 1942, claims about the development of revolutionary new weapons which could turn the tide became an increasingly prominent part of the propaganda directed at the Germans by their government. In reality, the advanced weapons in development generally required lengthy periods of design work and testing, and there was no realistic prospect of the German military being able to field them before the end of the war. When some advanced designs such as the Panther tank or the Type XXI submarine were rushed into production, their performance proved disappointing. So one of their Wunderwaffes or wonder weapons was supposedly Die Glock. And wonder weapons are a massive part of zombies. We have many of them ranging from the Thunder Gun to the Ray Gun. One of the ones that we see that was built in Didnt was the Wunderwaffe DG2. The Nazis would have at least put out propaganda that they were developing super weapons, maybe not exactly like the ones we see in zombies, but other crazy inventions to help them win the war. But going back to one of the torn up notes that I read out earlier, the bees disappeared from Ludwigsdorf. Well, if you type this place into Google, one of the first things you are going to see is the flytrap. The flytrap is in Ludwigsdorf. What exactly it means when it says the bees disappeared? Is it linked to the famous saying, if the bees disappeared off the face of the earth, man would only have 4 years left to live? What exactly the bees are referring to in this instance, I'm not too sure. But you can see everything is connected to Project Reese. The flytrap, the teleporters, Die Glock, the gold train, the Wunderwaffe, all of this we find in Didnt relates to Project Reese. Whether or not a lot of it is real or conspiracy, The Nazi gold train has never been found. Did the Third Reich really use Die Glock to teleport to the moon? I'll leave that one for you guys, but there we go. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating, I really do appreciate it. If you haven't checked out the first episode on Mob of the Dead, I definitely recommend you go ahead and do that. I will link it down in the description. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you, and until then, goodbye.